that one belief eliminated from your brain could change the course of your reality. Would you want that? It's not for everyone, only the brave. Those who want to own their life like the powerful leaders they were born to be. A pivotal moment can change everything. Now, here's the host of Crossroads to Awakening show, Wendy Paquette.
Welcome everybody. Happy Monday. Man, Mondays come so fast these days. Happy day after Love Day. And if you live in Canada, happy Family Day. My wish and send out to all of you listening to the show today is that you are enjoying every single moment you have with all the family in your world. So today is a wonderful, wonderful episode called The Human Connection. How human connection is currency. So let me tell you, welcome to the Crossroads to Awakening show. I'm your host, Wendy Paquette. I am a holographic mind reprogrammer. Boy, I don't know if I can speak on Family Day. And a meditation and mastery facilitator for my signature program. And what I create with humans like you is activating possibilities when you're stuck at the crossroads and you aren't sure where to go and you think that you're at the end and you can't bust through these walls. I'm that person who supports you into seeing what's actually there and moving those things out of the way, because I believe as a high frequency human, how you see your physical life and how you experience your physical life is a direct reflection of the programs that are etched into your brain. And those programs, my friend, just like in a computer, can be easily changed if you're willing. So let's get started on today's episode, how human connection is currency. Now, I did learn this from a business coach a couple of years ago, and I understood the concept, but not truly embodied it until one day I realized what those words actually mean and how they can support me in my life, and how they can support you in yours. And that changed the game for me in my life. It changed the relationships that I have with my family, with my friends, and also with my business. So how can we create an understanding of how human connection is currency in this day and age where we are in an interesting space in 2021, where the frequency is higher and we are still navigating ourselves through this pandemic? So here, let's get started. I have a couple of questions that I like to pop into your reality, pop into your consciousness in order for you to see what is possible for you and how you can create human connection that equals a currency. And what does that truly mean? So let's start with, what does currency actually mean? Let's go into that. So the definition from the dictionary of what currency means is, the first thing is a system of money in general use in a particular country. So that's the first one. So it's directly relating currency to money, right? In a general use. The second thing was the fact. So currency means the fact or quality of being generally accepted or in use. So I find that one very interesting. So currency means the fact or quality of being generally accepted or in use. So to me, what that says, a quality of being is a value, right? You're looking at a value. So currency is also derived from the Latin word curere, or currere, curere. I'm not great at Latin, which means to run or to flow. So money or other items are used to facilitate transactions that are flowing or running, right? So that we're looking at currency as the money aspect of it. So let's pull this into what that can create in your life. So when we're looking at the definition, just the mere definition of currency, so we know what human connection is, right? The connection between each other. And we'll get into that a little further. But currency, to most humans, is an element of money, right? How we exchange one thing for another. In every country, it's generally the same. Currency is my dollar for your product or service or item, and vice versa, right? Maybe they're paying you for something. So that is the currency, which also depicts movement, right? The flow, as it said earlier, the fact or the quality of being generally accepted or in use, right? So value in a flow, something that's moving. The currency in the Latin space is to flow, something that moves something, right? So now we see sort of the definition of those words and what they can actually like be in literary terms of meaning, what the definitions mean in the world. How can we apply that to how human connection is currency, right? Because human connection is free, right? Free in that when you have a deep connection with someone or a connection with someone, you know them, you know of them, you may know their name, maybe you know their occupation, their position in the world, their family, about their family, you know, about themselves. And you've got a connection to them that would cause you to label your relationship in a way that could be friend, colleague, family, right? Coworker. And maybe you've played sports, so they're on a team with you. Maybe you've done some courses with them, or you're in a community with them. Maybe they belong to your city. So you're in a city or a community in that way. So you'll have some kind of connection to each other, right? So it's almost like a linking. So if you were to put a cord between you and that person, there'd be a connection between you two. And how you exchange or utilize that connection is what creates in your reality, or better than how you can create the opportunity in your reality based on that connection. Like, what can that connection create with you? How can you support you, which creates in this world? So what we're getting into is, where are you at with your human connections that is not equaling your level of currency? And I'm being very literal in these spaces. So let's go deeper down the currency line, because I get you understand. And I'm going to make that assumption that human connection is an easy concept to understand because we all have it in some way. And there is a deeper level, which I have learned not too long ago. However, I'd like to dive a little deeper into the currency aspect of it, because how I see currency is a level of human perceived abundance. Because when you say the word abundance, even if you're not in the woo-woo space, abundance means a plethora of, an amount of, an exceeding amount of, or an overflow amount of, or plenty of, or infinite amounts of something. So an abundance of something. So if you were to look at it from that perspective, if you were to include currency as like down the road, it is value, right? Or money. Abundance is attached to that, because we also have self-judgment and judgment towards others when it comes to currency, or the abundance or a lack of abundance of. So it's interesting how we pull all those things together, because that long tail perception of what currency is for humans, for us humans functioning in this reality, we really are attaching it to our level of abundance, right? Which is what we truly are all after, even if it's not a monetary thing, right? Abundance could be of love, of friends, of community, right? Of things. It has many, many ties, but it is a reality that we're living into. So abundance is a thing, right? We all are after it in some way. And if we're not successfully experiencing abundance in our life, we find ourselves then on the other side of judgment, lack, scarcity, all the things, right? All the things that don't generate abundance, right? The opposite of that. And so, as we know in the law of attraction, we are what we think about all day long. So if we're at the tail end of the abundance part, and if we're on the other side of it, judging the lack of or grand nature of abundance for someone, we're judging it, we are then creating more of that experience. So if we're standing in judgment of it, that we don't have it, then what in fact are we creating, right? More not having it. So right down to the law of attraction. So this how human connection is currency really truly has an impact on our life and our business. Because underneath all of the mind chatter and what we're creating in the world, if our come from is from a judgmental space or a comparison nature, something that we might not have, we're missing the point. Because human connection can like sew the gap for you. It could close the gap. It can be the bridge to how you can create in your world by being in human connection. So I'm going to move into like, what is human connection on a deeper level? So yes, we all have connection. We all know someone. Could say we have an acquaintance with someone, we have some friends, we have some relatives. So we do have connections with other people. And what value, right? So I'll go back to the currency aspect. What value have we placed on that connection that we are unaware of? Right? So where in our world are we unaware of what that human connection can create or is creating for us currently? So it's almost a game of how many people do we know? How many people are we in connection of? And at what level do we hold that connection? So I know I ran through tons of things. It feels like a master class in human connection and currency all in one short beginning of the episode, but we're going to dive deeper into all these aspects. I wanted to give you the broad overview, right? And in where we're going to go with this. And it is a super simple concept. So as we walk through it, my intention is that you understand yourself and what this is for you in creating human connection and allowing it to be currency so that you can flow easily into all the things that you would love to be, do, and have with this open possibility of this energetic and experiential thing that has a value in your life, right? We get to move out of scarcity and into our value. And let's get down to it. It creates a self-worth conversation. Whew, so much information, but it is being called for right now on this planet as we are moving through this part of the pandemic. We are also realizing that something's coming that's bigger, greater, grander. It's what the world's been asking for. What does it look like? We're not sure. And how can we be at the cutting edge of it and take advantage of our opportunities, being an aware human and utilizing the power of our human connections as currency in this reality? Because let's face it, linking arms to arm will create unity and the love and the joy and the connection that we're after, which ultimately is what I would say most humans are after, right? We're all after a greater sense of joy. And that comes from being in communication with others. We are human, right? We live in this skin suit. We all have a skin suit. That's what makes us human. And we are all human together. So we're going to wander into a break, and you get to take a deep breath and take in some of the concepts. Maybe certain things stand out. There is a deep element of law of attraction here. And there are other things that we get to speak into so that we can be in relationship to what we're after. It comes down to also a deep vision. Like, where are you headed and why? Where are you headed and why? Because that creates as well. You have something to stand on, becomes a platform, a foundation, no less. Whether it's with your family or your friends or your business or what you're up to, maybe with your employer, you will stand on some type of vision because you're creating something always, right? Maybe you're not aware of it. Maybe it's showing up and maybe you're not liking it. And the one thing you get to know is that you're creating it no matter what it looks like. So what if you're in relationship to it? What if you could actually see it and then decide from there, like, wow, I'm not appreciating what's showing up in my life. How can I be in relationship to it? How can I find a human connection here? And how can I create value? All speaking into the human connection as currency. So Jen, let's walk into the break now. And on the other side of that, we will speak into possibilities for you, what you can create right now, today, with all these things. It doesn't get to be that heavy. We get to make it light. So we'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the crossroads to awakening.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Well, welcome back. Seems like always a quick break while we're contemplating something, while we play in the facets of our mind. So let's dive into this again, and I'm going to break it down slower so we can see from where we stand what's possible, how we can create human connection as currency, and how we can utilize it as the value that we give it in our world in order to create, right? Utilizing the law of attraction, the power of manifestation, however you'd like to look at it, and from that beautiful thing called your brain, because the brain's where we hold all of the programs. So where I like to go now is into, if we can now understand what human connection is, which I assume we knew that already, and what currency is, and how we can see currency as value and flow, and how that value and flow has an abundance attached to it. And then we also have a perception of our own abundance. How can we create a shift today that will change how we see our world and what shows up for us, right? Based on the law of attraction. So you know what you think about all day long is what gets created. How can you bring this idea, this concept into your world, see where you stand, and then actualize what you really want, like bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be, utilizing this concept, right? So I'm going to give you a little example of where I'm going with this. When I was in my master leader training, we got to create a workshop to bring our vision to the world, actually into the world via workshop. And back then it was in person. I'm in gratitude for that. It was very fun. And I'm realizing now the value of in-person and deep human connection from that space. And at that time, it was an opportunity that I felt really at ease with. I'm like, wow, this is easy. I mean, being tasked with doing a workshop, no brainer, right? I've done some acting training. I've done music training. I've done speaking training. I've done improv training. Easy peasy, right? I do a lot of coaching. There's just so many things that added up for me. I was like, yeah, this is easy. Where other people might shy away from maybe public speaking or being in front of others, I was leaning in. I'm like, yes, this is so easy. Wow, had I known, right, how easy it would be. And so off to the races I went. And what I discovered was that the workshop was in fact easy. It was so easy that I had no issues declaring a name for it and putting it together. I had no attachments to what it was. I knew what I would like to create in that space. If it was a 3-hour workshop, what I would like to create in that space, and what I would like the beautiful humans that showed up at the workshop to leave with. So here is where I discovered where my gap was. As we're about 2 weeks out from my declared workshop date and time, and that it's in person, I got to secure the venue. That was easy. get all those things set up, request support, which was also easy. What I knew was possible was I got to have a particular number of humans in the room, like butts and seats, in order to achieve the elements of the workshop that would cause me to have a, I guess, passing grade. Let's just say it that way. It's not really truly called like a passing grade, but that's what the parameters of the workshop is. You get to present a 3-hour workshop. You get to have so many butts in the seats, and you get to land your vision with experiential exercises. And it gets to be in person. So as all those things are really, really easy in my mind, as I got closer, I asked myself some really poignant questions. And this is where human connection comes into my reality in a deeper way. The question I asked myself was this: if I got confirmations of, say, 25 people I get 25 people butts and seats. If I received a confirmation from 25 people that they were going to be there, or even if I got confirmation from 50 people, let's say double, I get to have 25 people butts and seats. If I got 50 confirmations that people would be there, could I count on them to actually show up? And guess what? Herein lies my breakthrough. I couldn't say yes to that. I really, truly couldn't say yes to that. I realized in that moment, that was my gap. That was my breakthrough. It's one thing to talk about everything we know. It's also one thing to know a lot of people, right? Know a lot of people, have a lot of people know me. It's another thing to have a deep connection, meaning so vulnerable and so deep that if I requested their presence in the room and they said yes, they would be there, I know that they're saying yes to me is a true statement. They would be there. Not they'd be like, oh yeah, Wendy, I'll be there, and then not show up and tell me that something else got in the way, or they were people pleasing me into saying, yeah, I'll be there. And then they decided to go grocery shopping instead, or a friend decided to come over. So they really weren't truly committed to me, to the answer to me, or to supporting me. They were just telling me what I wanted to hear and then to keep moving. To me, there's a distance to that experience that I was unaware of up until that moment. And luckily, it was 2 weeks out when I asked myself that question, and I got to make a choice. Do I hope and pray that everyone that says yes to me actually shows up, so that I don't have to redo the workshop again and figure it out in the hard way? Or do I realize and acknowledge that I have a gap with deep connection? I only let people in arm's length, really, truly arm's length. I know a lot of people know who I am, and they don't really know me. I have not let them in. And at the time, I would say my business was good, right? My coaching practice was good. Things in my world were good. And they weren't great. I wasn't ecstatic and thrilled and like lit on fire when I got up in the morning. And I realized that was also the same gap. Then I started looking around at my family and friends. Well, if I asked them, like my closer family and friends, if I asked them to come to my workshop and would they be there? If they said yes to me, would they mean it? Could I count on them to be there? Could I count on their yes? And that was also a no. I wasn't certain. So my level of understanding of myself and where I was holding myself in connection with other people was so far away that I started to see it everywhere. I started to see it in the relationship I had with my clients and my coaching practice, obviously with my friends and my family, and then even with people that I knew well and thought that I had a really deep connection with. So guess what happened? I chose to lean in. I was like, ass on fire. I'm like, well, I guess I get to get moving and create what I'm after. So if deep connection is where I get to go, that I get to be whatever it takes in order to create deep connection. And so I did. I had more coffees with friends and family and, a little further out distant friends, which may have been acquaintances at the time. I spent a lot of time nurturing those friendships and spending time with them, and my commitment in order to bridge that gap in connection was I created rules for myself. It was when I like ask them to go out for coffee so that we can be connected, or if they ask me out for coffee or whatever that looks like, or lunch or dinner, I'm going to say yes. And I'm only going to ask question after question of them so I could get to know them from a deep, deep level, because this isn't about me, the person. This is about how close I've allowed them to come in my life, meaning how much I was willing to know about them so that I could be in relationship with them and what's going on in their world, a deeper relationship with them. And knowing that, maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're succeeding. I don't really know. I just knew a surface level. So being ass on fire in that space was so gratifying and so much fun. I had more fun. I didn't calculate how much money I spent on coffees or lunches or dinners or anything that we did. I got to spend committed time and with these beautiful humans in order to create a deep connection, so that when I honored the rules of I'm only going to ask them questions to get to know them so deeply, only when they asked me like, hey, enough about me, like what's going on in your life, did I allow myself to say anything at all. And the first rule with that as well is when they did ask me, it wasn't going to be first thing about the workshop. It was going to be about deeper, closer things. My family, how we're playing together. What does that look like? Perhaps, closer things depending on who I was with, maybe my business a bit. And then it was going to be about how to present in a workshop. And then if they asked me more about it, I got to share with them more about it. And then I could ask them if they would love to come, right? As a guest of mine. It was a free workshop. And in that moment, I knew if I said, can I count on you to be there? When they said yes, guess what? I believed them. I truly believed them, because before that occurred, my deep connection in that moment wasn't to get them to come to my workshop at all. Because if they didn't ask me what was going on in my world, I wasn't going to share. But I was so committed to that deep connection that I created such beautiful bridges to a relationship where I was committed to supporting them if they required it, or, being joy with them, or creating connection, or at least being a true friend. I knew what I was up to. And I was committed to the deep connections before I was committed to having them come to my workshop for a tactical reason. And that was a magical 2 weeks. So you can see what it created, this deeper connection in relationship to other humans. So just so you know, long story short, when it came down to it, I had been told by my mentor, get 40 confirmations, you'll get 25 people in the room, 25 butts and seats, right? Get 40 confirmations, you get 25 butts and seats. I believe I got 43 confirmations that people would be there than the seats. So I actually got more people who committed to coming, butts and seats, than actually told me they were coming. So it was an abundance of humans at the workshop enjoying that experience, half of which I didn't even know. They came from other spaces. Maybe my friends brought friends, or maybe they came from the community, the church that I chose to support, to have my workshop at. I was even committed to creating relationship with the humans that went to that church, that attended that church. And I showed up at their sermons. I showed up for their coffees after. I was in relationship to them. I created the same type of connection with those humans as I did with my friends and family. Now, the result of that in my life was the moment that I was in the workshop and everything was set up and ready to go, and the doors first opened, and I waited to see if it was actually true, if creating deep connection and being able to count on someone was possible. What I was showing myself was that it was possible, right? But I didn't know that yet. I didn't know until all those people started pouring in to this space in order to be a part of this 3-hour in-person workshop with me, that I knew. And I was elated. I was in gratitude. I was in joy. I was in such contribution. I knew I was committed AF to supporting them, to creating a magical experience in this workshop. And it was the most glorious, joyful thing ever. Now, that was the result of what I committed to and having a breakthrough and deep connection. But let me tell you, how you are one way is how you are in all ways. So that deep connection I created with everyone, that never stopped, because I realized the value in what that can create in my life, how valuable and how abundant I felt in those experiences. I ended up creating that everywhere I looked. My business exploded. My family was joyful. We did so many fun things. My friends and I still would meet for coffee and go out for dinners. That abundance amplified in my world. So that deep human connection wasn't just a one-time thing. It was a plug-in for life. It was a human connection that created more value in my life than I ever could have possibly imagined. So this episode on how human connection is currency, the currency is the value, and the value is the abundance. And it can, of course, also be money. Because how many people do you know in this world that if you have a business and you're selling a product, how many people that you're in deep relationship with would be happy to buy that product from you? Of course they would. Why? Multiple reasons. They want to support you, many, many things. So now that I've landed that aspect of it, we're going to go into a break, but I really want you to get that who you're being, especially now during this crazy pandemic that we've been in, that is ultimately where you get to look at your life as far as creating abundance and seeing where the value is that you place in your life and what that can create for you. If you're feeling lonely and stuck, let me tell you something, create deep connections with other humans and you will no longer feel lonely or stuck. Right? If you're experiencing anxiety because you don't know where to go and you don't know what to do, create some deep connections with other humans in your life, and that will shift because you'll ultimately see yourself in others, and that will be created. You'll also source support. So let's walk into this next break here, and we get to pop out the other side and see the magic that can be created on the opposite side of creating deep connection. So we'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Hello. And we are back in the program, and it looks like my internet's interesting. So we are back in the program if there's a little error wobble there. So let's look at a deeper aspect of what we're creating. So imagine that story in your life. Put yourself in the shoes of me for creating something in your reality that you're up against, that you like to create in your business. If you have a coaching business, or if you have a business in any facet of the manner, deep connection will be obvious to you right now. Do you have a field of raving fans that are after your product or service? You'd know that because before the pandemic, you would have had an experience of selling to these humans, and maybe they're commenting on social media, maybe they're regulars and they keep coming back. And during the pandemic, when we forced ourselves out of physical connection, we went, all in our isolation zones is what it feels like. Was that connection still present? Did you notice any of that connection? And where can you see a disconnect in what you thought was a valuable connection? Were you keeping them at arm's length? Were you thinking that you knew what they wanted, but really you never asked them? Where can you go? Where can you utilize my story in your life where you can create deeper connections on purpose in, and not just for the achievement of some business aspect, but because you're realizing that having the level of connection in your business is also a reflection of your life. Where are you not willing to go deeper with the beautiful humans in your reality that you love and care for, and that love and care for you? Where can you create that connection that can carry us reality where we value our human connection so greatly that as we stand in unity can change the world from where we stand? Where can you create that in your life right now, today? So here's one of the things I would like you to do. Pull out a pen and paper, and on it, you get to write, what if everything you ever chose was never wrong? Write that down. What if everything you ever chose was never wrong? You are here today now to experience this episode of our show, of the Crossroads to Awakening show, so that you could see that right now you are here, listening and hearing this message, so that you can move into a new reality because you said so. You can create the type of human connection that is so valuable. It will change your world in so many ways, financially, love, relationships, physically, all the things. Because truly we are living in a society as a human in a 3D world, which is laws of duality and separation. We are creating the oneness. In order to create it, we get to own that what shows up for us is not true unless we make it so. And if we're not buying it, if we don't like it, excuse me, we get to see that it comes as a reflection of who we have been up until now. And we get to address it and be the cause of that change. So if we're creating a world where we are constricted physically, being, locked down in our houses with a curfew, where are we playing small and going inward and hiding from who we truly are? Right? Where are we going inward, and not inward in the good way where we're going inward for expansion? Where are we going inward for contraction? We're trying to hide from ourselves because we don't like what we're seeing. Over who can we be today that can be the cause of inspiration that changes the way we see the world? Because we're seeing it through our own eyes as a reflection of our thoughts and belief systems. And those are the programs I speak into all the time. What programs have we bought in our brains that aren't serving us, that are devaluing us in every way? Because the devalue is not just in our business with money or in our bank accounts. It's in our friendships, our relationships, in our family. When you're truthful with yourself, you will see that. If you get to be an allowance of what's really, truly happening in your world, it gives you the doorway to choose something else, choose something different, and forge forward into a new world. You can utilize my experience with that workshop as the process in which you could take yourself in order to see your world differently and create the kind of connections that will change everything for you, and then therefore those you are impacting, and those you're impacting without even really knowing you're impacting them. So what could that look like? So I know you've written down, what if everything you ever chose was never wrong? There is not a word answer to that. There is a feeling. The feeling, from my perception and from what I've seen with many others, relief, opening up, like dropping all the tightness, dropping all the constraints, and realizing that you're here now. Now's the time you get to choose something different. Now's the time you get to gift yourself fresh new moment, fresh new eyes. So how do I see my world? Where have I been hiding from myself? And how do I get to create a deeper connection that will cause the currency value abundance that I'm after? So know this as well. That's not only with the people outside of you. Where we're going right now in this moment is, what about you to you? How closely are you in relationship with your own thoughts, your own heart, your own vision and value? And what are you pretending not to know about all of those things? If you knew what was holding you back, what was standing in your way, what was blocking you from all the things you've ever wanted, and I mean ever, would you not want to see them so you could choose something different, or at least acknowledge and identify them and then move them out of the way? That's what most humans are after. They're just some not willing to acknowledge that they get to do the work in order to see and be and experience that shift. They're waiting for it just to magically show up, and it cannot. It cannot show up unless you're willing to choose and see something different. And if you're stuck in your ways of being that are causing you to put up your hand and go, I know, and I'm not willing to budge, then you will stay exactly where you are. And guess what, friends? There's no judgment here. That's not coming from a judgmental space. But you don't get to bitch about your life and bitch about the scenarios in the world and stay where you are and expect something different. You get to be open to the possibilities that perhaps the way you're seeing the world is just slightly off. It's like the person driving the boat and didn't set the GPS, says, oh, I know exactly where I'm headed. I'm headed north because that's where the island of the riches are. I'm headed north. And they've been told that heading north is great. They were given north, 180 degrees by 180 degrees, or however that looks. And so instead of taking those two coordinates and going, yeah, that's where I'm headed, they go, I'm heading north. And I know because I was told that that's how we get there. So that's where I'm headed. And they head north. But what happens when the weather decides to throw the breeze heavily to the west? The GPS set to identify where they're actually headed, that they will end up going due north at the 180 to 180? No. And I don't even know if that's a thing, the 180 to 180. But if they're not putting the coordinates in and they're not willing to see that they have gone off of their track because they believe they know exactly what they're talking about, then guess what happens? They end up, due west? Because the wind blew them that way and they were not willing to see that they were off course just slightly. And then they get there and go, well, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I asked for. This isn't where I was headed. This isn't the abundance I knew I was after. That person must have lied to me. Right? And so they point the finger outside of themselves, blaming someone else, claiming the victim stance to their own demise because they're not getting what they're after. And what really could have occurred is they could have said, yeah, you know what? I hear you. 180 by 180. I'm going to put it in the GPS and I'm headed exactly there. So that, therefore, when the weather picks up and the wind blows me west, I'll know it and I'll be able to course correct and head in the direction that I'm truly after so that I can get there. It might take me a little bit longer if I get blown off course a little bit, but that's okay. I know I'm going to get there. That's being open to feedback, being open to possibilities, being open to acknowledging what isn't working in your life over being perhaps self-righteous and judgmental. We're all that way. We are human and that does occur. So those things aren't horrible. And we get to acknowledge, yeah, you know what, as humans, we can be that boy. There's where the GPS comes. I fell off a little bit, forgot to course correct, forgot to request feedback and support. And where did I end up? Yeah, not in the place I wanted to go. And I'm back on track now, right? There's a shift there. So you get to be the shift. So this has been a beautiful conversation on what's truly possible. I know for certain you can get where you're headed. 100%. Course correction and all. You can create a deep human connection. That is the currency equals value equals abundance that you get to have in your life. And we'll speak into the last few minutes after this last break into what that could look like actually look like when you follow through. So Jen, let's go into break and we will be right back. You're listening to the Crossroads to Awakening show, and I'm Wendy Paquette on the Inspired Choices Network. Let's have some fun. Only a few more minutes left and we will create what's possible for you today. We'll see you in a minute.
If you could wave a magic wand and have your life be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Professional dancer, CEO of a multi-million-dollar earth-conscious company, a screenwriter with top billing shows, and ultimately have the boldness to move about the world without emotional blocks standing in your way, therefore having the confidence to achieve anything you put your mind to. That's what Wendy Paquette knows is possible for you. The first step is understanding why you don't believe it too, or why you do, and yet haven't created it. Put on your possibility goggles and join Wendy now, because you're at the Crossroads to Awakening. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show with your host, Wendy Paquette. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Now back to the program.
Okay, now we're back. So listen, here's what's coming up for me that I get to share with you. If you're experiencing like frustration or irritation or I'm behind or any of those things after listening to this episode and realizing that you truly do have choice and you're beating yourself up about what you've created thus far, I'm here to put a stop to that. You get to stop beating yourself up, stop judging yourself, and lean into a new moment. And so how do I always go there? Through meditation. That's the space that creates. That's a space that lets your mind free, that shuts down all the mind chatter, and that gives you the opportunity to be at one with yourself so that you can be and create that deeper connection to truly what's possible. It is by far how I have created absolutely everything from the space of nothing in my reality, which is a lot, and it will never change, right? I will always go within first. I will go in, get connected to myself. Meditation is the space of you being present with you. It doesn't have to look a certain way. And the new program that I'm coming out with, Mastery in Meditation, is going to walk you right through that. It'll be a journey in creating magic within your world through the habit of meditation and beyond. There's always other crazy things inside of meditation that you have access to. And if you're open and willing to receive all those magical things, you will be guided to see them. And I walk you right through it. It is a one-on-one, it's a one-on-one experience where you will be connecting with yourself in a different level. It does eliminate and eradicate anxiety from a space of your mind being in control over your beingness, over your presence, your oneness. I am not a doctor. I'm not claiming that at all. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist. I am a master at meditation. And things literally come to me in a meditation that I can pull into this reality like magic. It happens all the time. I may take it for granted, I admit. And it's time that I share that magic with you so that you can create it as well. All the things we spoke into today with deep connection as currency and how to create that in your world is true and real for me on a daily basis. And you can be that too. It takes your willingness and commitment to yourself in order to open up and be in the space where you're committed to creating that. It's just one day, one moment at a time. So how human connection is the currency that moves the world, and how your business and your life can't grow without it. That's how. You don't have to fight to figure out what your deep connection could look like. You can come join me and we can sit in a space where if you don't know how to meditate, I can teach you. If you do, we can go deeper and we can create from the space where all things are possible, getting that chatter brain out of the way and creating from a knowingness that no one can take away from you. And that is you creating a deep connection with yourself and a trust beyond anything you've ever experienced before. where you can then take what you learn, take what you experience inside of a deep meditation, pull that information through, put it into action in your life, and watch the magic occur. It is truly possible. I use it and create it every single day. That is something that up until now I have taken for granted. And I've decided to release that opportunity to you so I can walk you through it and you can experience that magic, that miracle, and that instantaneous manifestation from your own connection to self. And there's a two-way street there. You get to be in relationship with everything around you, everyone around you. You get to get in relationship with your vision, a deep vision that creates in this world for you and for others. It'll impact yourself, your family, and your friends, and everyone around you. And it will create the lifestyle that you are looking to live. In joy, in possibility, in inspiration, and in abundance, in every single way. So, are you done messing around with what's not possible, or what you don't have, what you can't have, what you haven't seen, or where you think you are locked or blocked from having anything based on our circumstances? Are you done with that? I hope I'm hearing the energetic yes. So raise your hand and say yes out loud. And then reach out to me at wendypaquette.com. Reach out to me on social media. At the Crossroads to Awakening show or Wendy Paquette on there, and send me a message and jump in. It will be an invitation that will change your life if you let it. Because human connection is currency. It will create money. How? Not because the people are going to give you money, but because the abundance that you create by creating a deep human connection will show up in your business, at your work, in magical ways that you weren't even expecting. Money shows up from everywhere. Someone from a decade ago that might have owed you money could suddenly get the inspiration to send it to you. It's not limited, right? Things are only limited by your brain. You're limited by your own brain, and that is it. Not the experiences of others, and not only the experiences of you, but by the programs that you have bought, the belief systems that you have bought that reside in your brain. And those can be easily shifted, right? Meditation is one of the ways I use to access and unlock those limiting thoughts and belief systems to create. It's not the only one. There are other magical things that we can create and do together. And you can learn about those if you don't know me. You certainly are invited to get to know me and create a deeper relationship with me as well. And you'll see what's truly possible. Time travel, seeing where these belief systems might have come from. They might not even be yours. You might be living in a timeline where you've adopted them and you didn't even realize it. There's so much more. You get to be open to what's truly possible. So that is my invitation to you. Find me and take me up on the offer. That is what I'm here for. That is my mission and vision in the world, to create peace beyond understanding. Peace beyond understanding. I stand for a transformed world. I am a stand for a transformed world. And I am you. And you are me. So when you're ready to be your own stand for your transformed world, that's when it will occur. You will reach out and we will be in relationship and deep connection to create that. So that is my invitation today. So anyone called to hear this episode, to actually now want to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, because you're having it no matter what, and you're sick of the life that you've created so far, and you don't want to waste the next, 20, 30, 40, 50 years doing the same thing and getting the same results. It is time to choose yourself now. And if you're resonating with me, then you know where to go and you know what to do. Reach out, put your hand out. I'm standing here waiting for it. So thank you so much for being a part of this experience energetically online, listening audio and video if that's what's possible. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you again. You're not alone. I'm standing right here and I look forward to what we can create together. We'll see you next week. This is the Crossroads to Awakening show. See you later.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Crossroads to Awakening radio show. Wendy Paquette will return next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, and 11 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We look forward to you joining us again. Until then, enjoy your journey and we'll meet you at the crossroads.